Sometimes we'd like to emphasize the different values in our data by giving them different colors. The trick to doing this is over here. Our original data was only A2 through B14. But notice we've added 4 different columns to that. And in each column you can look at the formula that was written such that if this cell, whatever's in B3, is greater than C1, and if B3 is less than or equal to D1, then go ahead and display B3 as we did in this case. Otherwise, put in a blank. And we've made similar formulas for all of these different cells. So now we're ready to create our chart. But notice if I highlight this whole area and then say Insert, I put in a bar chart, it doesn't look like anything that we'd want to show. It doesn't know how to handle the data we've got. So sometimes we need to go back and change things up. I'm going to come back and I'm taking off the label here for months and data, deleting it. I can put it back on later, but that will then treat this more as a label on the left, and I can highlight it and only the 4 columns will be for data. So now try it again. And that is the basics of what we want. I'm going to change this up a little bit so that we can see all of it on the screen at the same time. It's got the colors and the basics, but they're toothpicks. They don't look very interesting. Let's click on any one of these series, and then over here I'm going to say let's have the series look wider and better. I will show the series with an overlap of 80 or 90 and a gap in this case of 0. These two numbers work together to help us figure out what to do. And now it looks a lot more substantial. While I'm at it, I notice that the series over here have a shadow on them. So I will put a shadow on these as well. I'll use the presets, and let's go for an inner shadow, this lower right one. Boy, that looks a lot better. Now I didn't include all the series, but I can easily copy this last change to the other series. I simply click on another series and do a Control-Y is one way to do it. Or I can click on a series and hit the F4 button. Another way to do it. We need to do this blue one. It's a little bit harder where it's down in the data, so I click down here to get it, and I'll hit F4 again. Now all my data has that 3D effect or shadow to it. Let's take care of our title. I'm going to change this title so that it is on top of the chart. And then let's go in and say Conditional Colors. And I will bold it while I'm at it and make it a little bit bigger. Maybe something on that order. Now the legend is down below. I'll click on it. We want to move it up above and to the right. We can look at it here, and you'll notice we can move it right or bottom or top or left, but we want some more options, so we could have gone just straight to our formatting the legend. And here we have some options. The legend is without overlapping the chart. I'm going to unclick that so it will overlap the chart and move it to the top right. From there I can pick it up and move it down to where I might want it to be. Now I don't like that the lines go right through the legend. I like how this is a solid color. So I'll click on it and go to Fill and Solid Fill, but that blue isn't what I want. I'll change that to white. And let's give it the shadow like we have on our series. There, that looks a lot better. Next, let's move our horizontal axis down. I'll do this by clicking on it And over here, I'll look at axis options, and in this case labels, label position, and we want to move it away from the axes down, so I'll put low. Clicking on low moved it down, but we notice they're separated with some lines. I'm going to unclick this multi-level category as well. All we have left is to change our grid lines to dots, put in a shadow, and take off the border. To change the grid lines to dots, I will select them, and under the line, I will look at dash type, and we'll put in dots. I could make those blue if I want at the same time. And we want to put in the shadow around the plot area. Outside of it. And then finally to select the edges and say no line. There, that looks quite a bit like what we want it to look like. Let's go on to our next tab.